Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This is week 14 and we are finally moving from the castle grounds back into the Hogwarts castle. In specific, we are going to be turning our attention to the interiors of the castle. We're going to be fitting those up from scenes from the movie and of course Hogwarts Legacy. And we're going to start breathing some life into the castle. Now, before I get started, I do just want to quickly say that if you can hear that my voice sounds a little bit off, if it sounds a little bit sick, it's not. I have just been screaming all day, sports related, and don't worry. I've been screaming all day, so I've kind of lost my voice, so that's why it sounds a little bit raggedy. But I am well, and we are going to get building. Now, the attention for this week's video is this bit right here, specifically the bell towers and the long gallery. Now, we have done the interior for the library. I'm going to just pick this up and pull it out. You will remember this from, I believe, week 8 where we started working on it. Now, I never actually quite finished it because when I was designing the interior, I didn't know what the rest of the building would look like. So I did, well, the lighting's horrible because it's evening, but I did start the arches on the roof or on the ceiling, you may say. But I never finished them because, as I said, I didn't do the rest of the building, so I didn't know how that was going to get in the way of anything. Specifically, these bookcases right here, what I didn't want to do is build them really big. And then when you pull off this panel right here, you just wouldn't be able to see into the library because of all the bookcases immediately in your face. But now, in any case, I think that this height is sufficient enough for a library. And in fact, I'm going to try to take the roof off of this bit, and we're going to see how much we can work with and see if we can fit a Defense Against the Dark Arts classroom in there. Right, so started things off by prying off the roof with a brick separator. This is not how it came off. I had to piece it back together. In any case, moving on. This is what it looks like underneath. And, oh, I just realized this is all broken. 1 second, guys, and I'll get back to you. Right, so I did go ahead and fix it. And I was also realizing that as I was doing this, this whole bit of wall is a lot more flimsy than I initially anticipated. And I think it was basically just being held together by the roof that was above it. But in any case, we live and we learn, and that's why we build. Now I'm just going to place Harry right here on one of these arches, and you can see how big the room is. So it's approximately, well, I said approximately, it's 6 bricks tall, and that's not really big. However, I'm thinking that for this room, I'm not going to have the back panel peel off just because there will be no structural integrity over here. And this, the whole way that this panel works, wherever it is, right here, the whole way that this panel works, if you give me 1 moment, is that to slide that down in here, is that it's actually basically leaning against the wall. That's why I've made it twice as thick. So this bit here is just sitting against there, and that's basically all it's doing. So if I were to take away that wall, this would just not work down here. So instead, we're just going to have the Defense Against the Dark Arts classroom viewed from this angle, and then we will be able to just pop the roof on and off as such. Coming around from the other side, you can see a little bit better. I was standing in front of the light the entire time, and it's also nighttime, so I apologize for the bad lighting, but I do want to get content out for you, so got to start sometime. So this is the space we're working with. Obviously, it's the same length as the library down below, but this is actually quite a large classroom. So my thoughts actually were, instead of just making 17 rows of seats, that will actually take it from about right here, we'll make this bit an office, which you see pretty much every Defense Against the Dark Arts classroom. So whether or not I'll make that Lockharts or Umbridges or Lupins will be determined later on, but I think it would be nice to make a scene for the office over here, and that gives us a little bit more of a manageable space for the classroom itself. But in any case, we can't be working on a classroom with no floor, so the first steps are to rip off this bit of wall and to lay down some flooring, and we'll see how we can proceed from there. So it's a few days later, and well, I haven't actually done anything. All I've done is taken off the upper floor of this long gallery. But I was just going to quickly pause and show you what this space looks like now that I've taken off the upper level. And you can kind of see come around the other side where you can see better lighting. You can see a bit of a better understanding of how the library below is laid out. Take off this so you can see even, there we go. That's what the library looks like down below. And this is the space that we have to work with. I've somehow entirely lost this cone piece somewhere in this mess, and I'm sure it's right in front of me, but for the life of me, I can't find it. In any case, my whole point with taking this off was firstly to show you a better look at the library, but also to think about how I might want to change the library once I build the Defense Against the Dark Arts classroom, because you can see it quite well from here, but the angle at which you could see the library before was quite limited, so I might have to reconfigure it slightly so that you can get the most of what you can see. So for example, this is the angle that you're looking at. Unfortunately, you can't really see this way. And I put quite a lot of detail over here into these sort of this table and the bookshelf and all that, but you can't actually see it unless you really pay close attention and you put an eye right next to that tower. So there might be some reconfiguring going on in the library below at the end of this video. So here's just a quick look at what the flooring of the Defense Against the Dark Arts classroom looks like. Nothing special, but it was a little bit of a weird shape to get around this bit that juts out. And of course, that's the bit that holds the panel in place for the bottom of the library over there. But in any case, I had to use a few dark bluish gray plates because I am running quite short on the necessary tan plates, but you can't see those because this whole bit will be covered in tiles. My main bit was that I didn't want it exposed on the outside. But in any case, now that we have something to work with, I want to talk a little bit about how I might further add some detail in it. So of course, all of you know what the Defense Against the Dark Arts classroom looks like, and that's really a mouthful, so I'm just going to call it Defense from now on. I do have this ledge that I can work with at the moment. This is of course what's holding in place the panel below, but it offers some sort of a windowsill that I can use to probably put some things on. And I've been looking at a few scenes from the movies because that's really what I want to use as the basis for this. Specifically, there was a comment many weeks ago about making this the scene where Snape goes, turn to 394. Page 394, of course. Please ignore the accent. But there are brown, I suppose they would be wooden arches around all of the windows. And then in between the windows, I was saying that's where I can start putting some really interesting things. You can also remember from Professor Lupin's classroom that he has a lot of strange objects and creatures along the length of the window over there. So we are going to go ahead, section off the office over there, and we're going to start detailing the inside of this, see what we come up with. So, little update here. I've gone ahead and divided the space into two. The right-hand side for the office, on the left for the classroom, as you might anticipate. Now, we still have that ledge there. I did experiment very quickly with using these reddish-brown arches around all of the windows, but I ran into a little snag with that. In fact, I will just cut to what that looks like so I can better explain it. So I'm not entirely adverse to using this as a design for the rest of the classroom. However, the thing I'm really not liking about it is just how short it is. And that's, of course, because of the cornicing that I have on the top. That's just the 6 row of bricks, and it eats into the space on the inside as well as the outside. But that's what's adding a little bit of detail to these otherwise flat walls. Now, what that means is basically the archway is coming right to the tip of the window, and it's only 2 bricks high, I guess 3. And it just feels a little bit small for what the space needs to be. That being said, it does add another level of detail, so I will try and go ahead with what it looks like right now. And I will just have to cap it at this height because I can't build any further, so I'll just put a row of tiles to make it look a little cleaner. But that's what we've got going on right there. You can see that I've got this dividing wall over here. I've just put a very simple door, and we're going to work on just furnishing up a little bit of a classroom, or sorry, an office back here. We'll see what I might go with. It's really going to be quite simple for the moment, just a desk, a chest, maybe some chairs. And as the build progresses in future weeks, I might come back to this and decide to revamp the office to make it something a little bit more iconic, such as Umbridge's office. It might be fun to do something that's overly pink and quite obnoxious. Now, for the classroom, I do have a little bit of a little design here of the desk, and I think it looks pretty decent. It's pretty gaudy, but also quite Lockharty. And I've also got a chair, and I'm going to be really honest here. I built this a while ago. However, I'm not sure if actually I came up with this design or if this is from a set. So if it is from a set, let me know. But if it's not, then I just came up with something quite simple to go with the desk over here. And as for the layout of the room, I'm actually deciding not to put too wide desks, and that's only just because I think the space is a little bit too small. By putting just 2 desks right here in the middle, it's not actually accurate in any way, but it allows me to have a little bit more space to actually create some scenes in this classroom. And then of course we can't forget this really obnoxious portrait of Gilderoy Lockhart. What we're going to go with next is trying to build a little projector from Professor Snape's scene of turn to page 394. So things obviously do look a little bit different here. It's been a few days of working on this in between classes and work and such, and I've been able to get a decent amount of progress done. Obviously the astronomy tower is missing. It's over there by the window because I need an easier way to get into this long gallery over here. Just to mention in the last clip, I did say that I was going to be working on the projector and the whole scene of Snape's turn to page 394. Now I did put that on pause just for a moment because I experimented a little bit with trying to build a projector, but I was looking for a very particular piece, which I'll put on screen right now, and then you'll understand why I want that. Now, obviously this is my second Lego room. I'm at university right now, so I couldn't bring everything with me. I've really only got what I need to build Hogwarts. I say what I need, it's pretty big. But, you know, I've got a lot of tan bricks, but I don't have things to build a projector. So I now know what pieces that I do need, so I'm going to wait until I can get my hands on them, and then I'm actually just going to take that instead of trying to build something else. Anyhow, I'm rambling about a projector. You're not interested in that. I spent the last few days building over here. Bit of a mess. That's how I like to work, and I got rid of the astronomy tower so I could access the long gallery. First thing, before I even get onto there, is I did finally build this. It's not special at all, but for the longest time this had no roof on it because I stole the pieces to build other sections of the roof, for obvious reasons. But so this one is made up of a ton of tiny 1x2 and 2x2 slopes, just because I was completely out of the standard longer ones. So we made it work. I basically have no slopes left, but I wanted to do that because it kind of finishes off that bit of a cross in the roof right there coming up to the central tower. Now let's move on to this building because that's where it really gets exciting. Right, so I'll come around this side. Just give you a better view of what it looks like from the front at the moment. It looks exactly the same. There's just a row of tiles above there. So kudos to that. I didn't make it obvious that I did any major modifications, but of course the interior is all changed. I'm just going to go ahead and lift the roof off of this. We're going to show you what we went ahead and did. So roof comes off as such, which you already know from watching this video, but to me it's been like a week since those last clips, so I'm just reminding myself really. And voila, we have the Defense Against the Dark Arts classroom, and I'm really proud with how this came out. If I'm being honest, interiors are not my strong suit, and I did struggle quite a bit to get this done, but I decided to just take a few days breather and get back to it and not be so fussed about how it turned out. So what we have here is a little scene at the moment, because I don't have the projector, of from the second movie, Gilderoy Lockhart in front of his desk, Cornus Pixie right there. We've got a little floating shelf, which I quite like. We got some statues and a painting. I suppose I wish it would have been of Gilderoy, would have been even funnier. We got some students going on here. I'm going to come around this side so you can hopefully see it better. There we are. We got Harry, Hermione, and Pansy Parkinson. There's a statue right there in the corner. Get close to it. Oh, sorry about that shaky video, guys. Apologize. That is a chess piece right there. I'm just having a lot of fun just stealing. There's the rest of the bag right there of all the chess pieces. So obviously there is, 32 pieces in total. I am planning on using all 32. So that was just a little bit of space that I wanted to fill. So I went ahead and did that. One thing about this bit over here, the arches, if you will, is you might notice that the center arch looks slightly different from the two on the side. And that's simply because I ran out of pieces of those ones on the side. But I really wanted them. So kind of threw that in and hope no one would notice. And frankly, if you're not paying attention, you don't. And I did the same thing on this side. Now this is the cool, actually, instead of going upside down, how about I be a bit more logical and come around the other side? So it looks like on the other side, very similar. We just got some things in the window. I'm really happy with how this classroom turned out. Simple, but it gets the job done. And it really fills the space. And then of course back here, we have the office, but instead of putting yet another desk and just making it really boring, I thought I'd make it kind of more of a staff bedroom, if you will. So this is Professor Lupin's bedroom, which is right off of his classroom, because I didn't think it made sense to have a desk and then another desk inside his own office. So he's got his trunk. We got a little table here where he's drinking his Spain potion. And I'm coming around the other side quite a bit. We're gonna come around here. And we have a bed and a little nightstand light and a trophy in the corner. Gryffindor red, of course, because it is Professor Lupin. So there's just the work on filling the interior, and I think you'll all agree that while it did take me 2 weeks to build just this, putting interiors in Hogwarts is really elevating the mock overall, because it's one thing to see the castle from the outside, but to be able to open it up and be like, oh wow, there are actually scenes in here. It's a little bit deeper. And speaking of deeper, we're now going to go below the Defense Against the Dark Arts classroom, because I did slightly modify the library, as I was talking about before. So savor this moment, because from now on, the astronomy tower will be blocking this angle. But we're going to open this up. I'm going to show you what I did here. Really. There we are. Let's try this one. Okay. So here we are in the library. I ended up building the other bookshelves on this side, but due to how the back of this looks like, these arches are really supporting the roof. If I didn't have them there, this would be collapsing every time I pulled it open. So I really need these arches here, but they're exactly in the same spot as a bookcase, so I couldn't build them like they look in the background there. So instead I've had to push them in slightly at the top, which I think looks all right. A little bit of an oddly shaped bookcase, but I like having the arches on both sides. It makes the room feel a little bit more complete. We got the bookcase back in there. I didn't really change the layout at all. I did slight modifications, but I'm not even going to bother boring you with them. And one thing I did do is, of course, put minifigures, but besides McGonagall, who is supposed to be Madame Pince, the only other character here, and the ghost doesn't count, is Hermione Granger. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. I suppose the joke is that only Hermione would be in the library. But well, there you have it. This is going to be the first section of the castle that has a complete interior. It's the only bit at the moment that really does. And of course, in the upcoming weeks, we're going to be focusing a lot more on getting those interiors done. And this section, a bit dodgy. There's so much to do on Hogwarts, and I'm really excited to get going on it. Now, of course, with school starting, you do know that last week I didn't upload a video, and this week's upload is not going to be as long or as detailed as I would have hoped. But the sort of thing that I encountered last week is that it was basically Friday night, and I was staying up past midnight trying to get some progress done, and it just wasn't particularly healthy. I didn't think I was going to get anything substantial or really even good quality done. So instead of uploading, I did decide that, it's a smarter thing to just stop, get some sleep, and then when classes resumed during the week, I focused on them. And then when I had time, I did a little bit of progress on this mock. Now, I know it means that I don't get as much done, but it does mean that when I do get things done, they at least look decent. But from now on, now that I have 2 weeks to work on everything, I can pace myself a little bit more, and hopefully we can get some better progress done during those 2 weeks. Because as I said in the last clip, when I was working on the Defense Against the Dark Arts classroom, I was really rushing the first week to get it all done, and then I sort of burnt myself out for a few days. So instead, I'm going to be pacing myself, and we'll get a lot more progress done. Now, I'm not going to tell you what we're doing next week, because I'm really excited to just surprise you when the video comes out. But I will say that I was able to get some of the older Harry Potter sets from home, and that we will be using them quite strategically somewhere over there in the mock. But that is all for this week's. That is all for this week, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in week 15, or is it 14? I think it's 15. You'll have to correct me on that. See you guys.